Well, hello there. If you watched our last video to the end, you would see that we had a little issue with our Toad. So in this video, I'm going to show you the installation of our rock hard bumper, the issue that we had, how rock hard responded, and what the solution was. So stay tuned. We used the same brand rock hard bumper on our Jeep with the NSA tow bar with the ready brake system, and we towed it back and forth across the country multiple times. We never had a bit of problems, so when we got the Bronco, we decided to use the same system on it. Hey there, welcome back to the Wild Blue Wanderers channel. So some of you may have seen in a previous episode, we've got something new. We're gonna set this up to be a Toad. We're gonna add a new bumper. We're a rock hard bumper. We're gonna get it all set up to tow behind the motorhome. I'm not gonna show you exact step-by-step on how to do the bumper install because Rock Hard 4x4 has a great video showing the installation process, but I will show you, some of the stuff that I've noticed as I do it, and let's get started. I'm gonna start by getting it up in the air so it's easier to work on, and we'll go from there. Get it up to working height so we're not bending over as much. So we're going to start, there's an electrical plug on the driver's side over here. Somewhere back down in here, we'll get that electrical plug unplugged. Then we're going to take these plastic pieces off here and here, and that'll access our bolts underneath. The plastic retaining pins. Here. And looks like up here on the top, 4 of those. So that just pops off with those 4 plastic retaining pins. That gives us access to our 3 bolts that actually hold the bumper on. So we got 6 15mm bolts. This one I'm gonna leave in there finger tight just so this thing doesn't fall down on me. And probably best to have somebody help you with this. And now we're going to set this aside. So now that we have that off, what you see here is this piece here is for your cruise control, and then that's all there is to it. The new bumper actually sits above this, so we don't have to move this, and this still works for your adaptive cruise control. All right, well, I got the original bumper set up on some sawhorses here. We need to get this wiring harness out. This wiring harness goes to all the parking sensors. So in order to do that, we've got to dismantle all these inside pieces on both sides. Then we're going to mark the sensors and pull the harness out. These bolts are 13mm. It's like a 13mm and possibly a 10mm. Take these little screws out in the middle. Yeah, they had that one pinched. We got one plate out. So not sure if you can see these or not, but these brackets here have to come out because the wiring's underneath them. There's 4 bolts here and 3 bolts on the top. And then we're gonna use our little tool here to just pop all the little grommets out. Now, they specify to be careful when you pull out the actual sensors. You want to make sure they go back in the same position, in the same direction. So before we pull them out, we'll mark them top, bottom, left, right, all that good stuff. And this side here was your bumper plug that plugged into the bumper, or plugged in underneath here. And then we also have some capped off ones here and here. Those are for factory fog lights. But the first edition Bronco with the metal bumper like this did not come with fog lights. So we'll probably utilize those in the future and add some aftermarket fog lights. So we don't want to hurt those. And here the harness is all loose. I'm going to get a paint marker and mark my sensors. Alright, so I got all these sensors marked. I just have a, not super good, but I can read it. 1 up, 2 with an up, 3 and 4. Now we'll pop those sensors out, and then I'm going to put the bumper back together. So to pop these out, you should be able to just lift these little caps, push from the outside, is what I was told. Lift these little locks. That's one. There we go, and they should just pop out. Just putting a little pressure on the outside with my finger. And that's our harness. All right, we got the new rock hard bumper sitting on our sawhorses. Put a blanket down so I wouldn't scratch it. I got the wiring harness sitting up here. These are the new holders for my sensors. These will go in from the back side here. And then there's some little C-clips here that will hold them in place. They also send with the kit some different rubbers that go around here. If you notice, that rubber that came stock is too big to go in this hole. So these just pull off. And these little rubbers will slip on. And those will actually fit in that hole and fit tight. I hate to show this because they actually send you Mopar parts for a Ford application, but I guess hopefully they'll hold up. I know that this sits in here this direction. That was up, so it needs to sit this way. So I'm going to put that big cutout towards the center, and then these C-clips should just clip in here like that and hold it in place. They slip in this direction and snap into place. Hopefully you can see that. This is a clip right here, snapped into place there. That'll keep that from pulling out. Now I'll take my number 1 sensor, which was the driver's side, arrow up, and that should snap in. There we go. Snapped in, arrowed up. So I'll do the same thing on the far number 4, but because we are going to be putting a winch plate on it, these sensors are actually going to move out to the outside. So I'll show you that here in a few minutes. We'll go ahead and get number 4 in, and then I'll get the winch plate ready to install. I got the wiring harness all zip tied up here in place. These 2 sensors in the middle are going to be extended out to the end of the winch plate. So they gave us a couple of extenders here, so I unplugged the sensors and installed these. Now I will set the bumper up in place and start the install of it. So it is nice, I got these little square holes that fit inside the frame, and that helps hold it in place as we're doing the install. Let me get the bolts ready and I will start putting it in place. These are the extenders I was talking about for the other parking sensors. Right now the bumper is just sitting here in place with those pieces of pipe that stuck out the back. I've got 1 bolt for each side. There's also these spacers that are going to go in behind. Now, in the video, he shows this going in this direction, the flat part to the back, here, here, and here. However, this one was labeled left, that one was labeled right. So I'm guessing it's left and right as you're looking at it, not left or right of the vehicle, which is more common. So this is going to slip in over the top. We're going to line this up with the holes and get the screws started. Hopefully. Okay, there's one there. I'll get one started on the other side. All right. That's it for now. So we also have these pieces here that we need to put in. These are for our Blue Ox. This is for my Blue Ox tow bar, and they bolt up in these same 6 holes. So trying to get everything lining up is going to be a little bit tight, and then there's going to be another bracket that goes on the outside of this for the bar on top after that. So there's going to be multiple pulling bolts in and out of here and trying to get everything lined up. As you can see though here, our sensor for the adaptive cruise control is uncovered, and supposedly when this is all up tight and into place, it does not get affected by the winch plate or anything else, and it's supposed to still work. We'll find out. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to try to get these bolts in here and get everything in place, and then I'll come back. All right, I finally got them in. These were a pain because you've got this piece, the bumper, you've got the spacer, then the frame, then the nut plates on the back. They've all got to line up. Then this piece here is for the winch plate also. So there's another piece that has to line up. I didn't see a good description when they were installing them on their YouTube videos, but it appears from everything looking close that the tow bar bracket or base plate goes on, then these plates go on. These are for the sensors. These are the adapters that we're going to pull out. And then this piece here is actually the winch plate. It'll sit on top of these. Pull these out. It slides over the top here. It'll bolt in here, here, underneath here, and then our new sensors, parking sensors, will go in here and plug in with these wires here. So it moves them out just a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get this. Everything's loose. I haven't tightened anything up yet. Everything's just sitting here kind of loosely. We'll get that in place. Then we can put our winch in, and we also have the bar that goes across the top, and we will move the front camera. Since it'll be looking right here, the front camera will move out. So we'll get to that next. All right, well, we've got everything loosely started. So brackets are in here, bolts are still loose. These are the tow bar brackets. Got everything loose. There's a hoop that still goes on, but I think the winch is going to be easier to put on before we put the hoop in. And also we need to take the grill part, because we're going to take the camera out and move the camera outside to the hoop. So that'll probably be the next step, is to get the grill apart, get this out, get it all wired down here where it needs to be, so the winch isn't in the way of that. So here's the left. But that won't fit on the left side. So everything's marked backwards. Okay, our next step is we are going to pop this grill out. We've got to take these plastic pieces off, get the grill out so we can remove the camera, and it'll get moved out here. There's a few bugs. Ashley didn't do a very good job washing this after she drove it. All right, well, there is the final product. We've got these pieces here, which is a base plate for the tow bar, a place to hang some D-rings on here. I have some different cutouts also for some aftermarket lights if I want to add those later. Those are the same lights, KC lights, that were on my Jeep. The winch off the Jeep. Got my flipster. I did have to do a little modification on the winch. This piece here normally sits over this, but it would hit this arm, so I had to actually flip it over here. The camera is installed out here, and it came with new wires that run around up underneath. One thing I kind of wish is they'd use black hardware instead of the chrome. Might look kind of cool. I might see if I can do that. I also thought about maybe painting these inserts, seeing if I can get the factory lightning blue and paint those. Might kind of look nice. But for now, it's functional, and we're good to go. So if you have watched any of our previous videos, you would have seen after we got the tow bar and everything installed on the Bronco, we left Merrill and we headed to Idaho. From Idaho, we went into Wyoming, and then from Wyoming, we went to Granby, Colorado for the Dynamax gathering. After the Dynamax gathering, we took off and we headed towards South Dakota. About 30 miles from our destination in Sturgis, right at the South Dakota border, as we were driving along, I looked in my left mirror and I could see the side of the Bronco. That immediately raised concerns. And when I let off the throttle, the Bronco moved its way back over to the right. That made me think there's an issue with the tow bar. Being that we use the ready brake system and it works as a surge brake, I decided that I didn't want to stop quickly because I didn't want the Bronco to come forward, not be able to brake, and slam into the back of the motorhome. So instead, we just coasted till we saw a little uphill area, and we coasted ourselves to a stop, and the Bronco did touch, but just barely touched the back bumper as it moved over to the right. We got out, and it was as expected that it was only being held on by one of the triangular pieces, but it wasn't the tow bar that broke. It was actually the base plate or the mounting bracket on the bumper itself that pulled loose. Well, this is why you watch your mirrors. Unfortunately, our rock hard bumper bolts, looks like the bolts all pulled out, and the safety chain kind of saved it. We saw it swinging around behind. It looks like it also busted off the stuff here. I don't see any other real damage, but watch your mirrors when you're towing. Looks like we might need another system. Oh yeah, looks like it did hit right here. Under further investigation, we found nothing had broken. The bolts had just come out. The nut plate was still hanging on the frame. The spacer plate was missing. Luckily, I had tools with me. We've got tools in the motorhome, so I was able to get everything disconnected and secured the bumper the best I could. Ashley was able to drive the 30 miles into Sturgis where we were staying. The next day I contacted Rock Hard. I sent them some pictures and a short video of what had happened, and within 10 minutes, the owner, James, called. You know, his first concern was our safety. He wanted to make sure we were okay. He also wanted to reassure me that he would take care of anything that needed to be taken care of and get us the brackets and parts and whatever we needed to be back on the road. He did want to find out what had happened and see if we could do a little investigation to figure out the cause of the problem, because he hasn't had any problems with any of his others before and just wanted to make sure we would prevent it in the future. So he asked me to look over the parts that we had there, and as I was looking at the nut plate, I noticed that the threads were still all intact. I sent him pictures of those, and we both agreed that it looked like the bolts had just backed out and that they didn't pull out and there wasn't any damage to the nut plates. They sent us out some new brackets and new bolts. This was not a manufacturer's issue. The bolts actually did come loose, whether it would be from our little rough riding or maybe they didn't get torqued properly. Matter of fact, I don't think there was a torque spec in their directions or in their videos. However, they told me on the phone that they should be torqued to 90 foot-pounds. They also decided that they were going to add another locking nut to the back. So we do have new plates. That's the old one, and the bolts, you can see where it came loose. The bumper's kind of sitting low, but they did provide me with new brackets and new bolts, which was very nice of them. They didn't have to do, because technically it wasn't their issue. It was, you know, the bolts just came loose. So one thing I would suggest is check your torque occasionally, especially if you're using your rig for off-roading and stuff like that. So check your torques and make sure everything's tight periodically. So this time we are actually going to drop the skid plate. There's 4 bolts holding the skid plate on. That'll allow me access to the back of the bolts after I put the bolts in. That'll allow me access to put locking nuts, nye-locking nuts on the back also. In addition, I did go to Ford and get a new nut plate for the back, because ours was bent up a little bit and the bolts came out of it. So I'll be replacing the nut plate on the back of this side also, and then we'll make sure everything's all torqued down good, and I'll show you that when we're done. Alrighty, here we have it. It is back in line. Got the bolts back on. It would be kind of neat if they'd source some black bolts or something for that instead of those. Might not stand out as much, but it's bolted back on. Got the nylocks back underneath and got the skid plate back on. So that worked good. Everything's torqued good and tight, and I'll keep an eye on the torques as we go down the road from here on out. So there you have it. The rock hard bumper, really like it. Unfortunately, nowhere in his directions, the videos, or anything did it specify the torque specs. And that's on me. As a 30-year mechanic, I should have known to check the torque specs, and I just snugged them down and went with it. Even the best of mechanics forget things at one point or another, so I'll take the blame on that one. I think those specifications definitely need to be in the directions, whether it be written directions or his videos. So we feel that because of the lack of torque, the bumpy roads, we went on some off-roading excursions, plus just the main highways are so rough, bolts just backed out. Since we needed to replace the tow bar anyway, we decided that we would change the system a little bit. We went with the Blue Ox 15,000 pound instead of the NSA 12,000 pound tow bar, and we went with the RVI Brake 3 system. That way we could change the unit between the Bronco and the pickup when we decide to pull the pickup, and it should be rated heavy enough that we won't have any issues. Also, I believe that because you've got the little dash thing, you can push the brake button on the dash. That would allow the brakes to activate. That might have helped us in this situation rather than it being a surge type brake. We will do a review on that system in a later episode and let you know how they work out for us. You know, Rock Hard is a great company, and I highly recommend them. I think they did a great job contacting us and getting things taken care of for us. I love the bumpers. They work great. Their manufacturing is amazing. The only complaint that I can say is that they need to do a little bit better with their technical manuals or installation directions. Paper directions would be great along with the videos. You need the details. I'm a detail guy. I did technical manuals and directions for years, wrote them. So I say you need to get the torque specs in there, be more specific. Your lefts and your rights, you need to be more specific. Use driver's side, use passenger side. And when there's a change of a bracket where it should be on one way with one situation, another way the other situation, let people know that. So some of the bracketry was shown one way in a picture and shown another way in the directions. I think these are another issue that needs to be a little bit more addressed in the installation directions. So the piece that I'm talking about specifically is the bracket that goes underneath this winch plate. If you notice this bracket, the direction of this bracket, in the video, they show the bracket coming out this way and connecting into here.
We're going to go ahead and first tighten up the bolts here on the bumper, and then we'll go ahead and snug up the 4 on the bottom of the winch tray. Once you've completed that portion of the process, next you can install your winch.
But then in an additional picture, it shows the bracket going this way. Initially, I installed the bracket coming out this way and up, as it was shown in the video, and after I got everything installed, I realized that this corner right here actually came over the top of this piece, and it left a gap inside there. So I had to turn this bracket around so these lined up. So I don't know if it's because we added these plates that they flip it around and they put it the other way if you don't have these plates, but that's definitely something that needs to be in the directions and explained. I would buy Rock Hard again anytime. I think they're a great company. This was not their fault, and I highly recommend them again. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave us a comment. I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. And I hope you liked the video. If you give us a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, we'd really appreciate it. So thanks for watching. We'll see you later.